your dreams.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Snowbreak video, and today I just want to do a quick review of the new 5-star Nita Pulse that every player should be able to get for free. And today was the day that you'll be able to fully max out the new 5-star Nita. I am not 100% sure if the 5-star Nita is going to be permanent. Let me know in the comment section below if you do know that the 5-star Nita will be permanent. But as far as I know, I think she has a pretty good chance of being permanent. I am pretty satisfied with Nita so far. I am a big fan of her redesign. I really like the skimpy outfit. I like the white hair. I am a pretty big fan of girls with white hair. I'm also pretty satisfied with her skin as well. I did buy it. I got the interacting scene. Her interacting scenes are very wholesome and cute, and yet it also kind of has like a very sexy implication with it. I'm a big fan of elves. I love elves. Dark-skinned elves are also pretty good. I just generally really like her skin. It kind of reminds me like of a grown-up Kokoro with dark skin. Kokoro being from Princess Connect. Missed that game very much. Anyways, I'm digging Nita's new design. I'm really digging it. I'm really loving it. As with her kit, I'm also pretty satisfied with her kit as well. Her gameplay is very different compared to the other characters we've received so far. In fact, playing with Nita, it doesn't even feel like you're playing a third-person shooter anymore, but I think that's perfectly fine. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but you know, I do think it's very different and I am pretty okay with it. I do think she is pretty fun to play, but if you are a fan of shooting in a shooting game, obviously, then you probably won't like the new Nita that much. How Nita works in this game is basically you use her burst and then you use her standard skill. Her burst doesn't cost any of the ultra energy or the U energy, but instead it's going to be costing her basically like 99% of her health. And basically her burst will deal big dig damage depending on how much health she has. With the neural skills unlocked, she'll basically gain a shield when she uses her ultimate, and the thermal weapon will increase the final damage of her burst. The shield is basically there to help prevent Nita from dying, because if you don't have this neural skill unlocked, she will basically be dead on the field. The shield will definitely help tremendously, so please make sure you at least unlock her neural skills. As for her standard skill, when Nita uses her standard skill, she'll basically leap forward at the enemy and basically deal thermal damage, and she'll enter this state called the Bhairava state. During this state, Nita will not be able to shoot, so as I said earlier, Nita hardly ever shoots. In fact, the only time you'll probably shoot with Nita is if you're dealing with the boss Joe, the big armor Joe, or if you're dealing with an enemy that needs to have their armor broken. Those are probably the only times that you'll be shooting with Nita. But other than that, you're probably not going to be shooting with Nita that often. Anyways, during this state, Nita will be performing these pyro punches, and there is kind of like a mini rhythm game to it. During this mini game segment of the pyro punches, you will be getting this thing called the Thunder Chime. You can only hold a max of 10, and technically the less Cinder Chimes you get, the better. So when you're performing a pyro punch with Nita, your timing on the minigame has to be, you know, somewhat perfect. Otherwise, if it's poor timing, you get 4 Cinder Chimes, and if it's correct timing, you get 1 instead. If you get a max of 10 Cinder Chimes, she'll basically like exit the state. I don't think I've ever had this happen. I don't think it's that difficult to get the perfect timing in this minigame. At least I can't exactly remember if I ever like encountered poor timing with this. But anyways, it doesn't really feel that like precise. It doesn't really feel like you need to be that perfect with it. If you unlock her neural skills with the standard skill, the max amount of Cinder Chimes will be 12 instead of 10, so you'll at least have a little bit more of an open window to not exit the state. And if Nita is equipped with a thermal weapon, she'll basically restore HP whenever she performs a pyro punch. And it'll also decrease the ultimate skill cooldown by 6 seconds. Now Nita will be doing 5 pyro punches during this state, And on the 6th punch, she will unleash a Searing Smash, which deals a lot of damage to the enemies. Now, if you're playing Nita in co-op and like all the enemies are dead while she's pyro punching, you still want to continue your combo at least, because if you continue the combo, you will restore HP, and Nita will be like in a half-death state most of the time. So you do want to finish your combo, even if you're like playing in co-op and most of the enemies are dead. You'd still want to at least finish the combo, even though it'll look a little silly. Nita will also have a hard time dealing with enemies that like, or at least bosses that move around a lot. So like you may, at least with during these standard skill, you can kind of maneuver where you want to go, but it can be kind of like annoying to reposition Nita if you're dealing with an enemy that kind of just, you know, moves around a lot or teleports around a lot. There are a lot of enemies that kind of do that in this game, so, but at least you can maneuver somewhat pretty easily. As for Nita's 5-star weapon, which is also free by the way, and you can also max it out for free, which is pretty nice. It increases Nita's max HP by 30%, which is pretty good because Nita's burst will deal more damage depending on how much HP she has. And she also does obtain free logistics as well, which also gives her more HP, and it also gives her free alignment index as well. Anyways, if you perform her combo with perfect timing, she will no longer get a Cinder Chime, which is pretty good, which is probably one of the reasons why I've never seen her exit her state before. Also, when Nita's HP is above 40,000, her skill damage is increased by 60%, and the target skill damage taken from the equipment operative will be increased by 20%. The logistics gives her 24% more HP, and it also increases her ultimate skill damage by 60%, which is a pretty big bonus. Also, when Nita gets healed, her skill damage will be increased by 60% for 2 seconds. Not only is Nita and her logistics and her 5-star weapon is free, but you can also get free copies of her. However, they're not called manifestations. Instead, they're called Auctus Drive. I don't know if this is going to be a new thing for new free characters starting from here on out, but it is a pretty interesting concept. It basically acts as the same as manifestations, but instead of just having 5 manifestations, we now have 4 Auctus Drives. I hope the devs kind of continue with this concept when they give out free 5-star characters. I think it's a pretty cool concept because now we don't have to worry about getting manifestations for Nita, since, well, they're basically handed to us. Anyways, on on Nita's first Auctus Drive, the Searing Smash, which is the final punch in her combo, will deal 150% more damage, depending on how low the amount of Cinder Chimes she has. As I said earlier, you don't want many Cinder Chimes on Nita, because if she gets too much, she'll exit the standard skill state. So the less Cinder Chimes you have, the better. On Auctus Drive 2, Nita will basically restore more HP when she does her pyro punches, which is pretty good because without this Auctus Drive, I've noticed that Nita is even more in danger of dying. But with this Auctus Drive, she hardly ever dies, which means that I don't have to worry about putting a healer on the team because, you know, she's basically restoring her own health, which is pretty good, which is why I think the free Nita is pretty good, because it basically frees up a healing slot. You don't need a healing character to play with Nita, which is really nice. Auctus Drive 3, if you do perform a poor timing of the pyro punches, instead of getting 4 Cinder Chimes, she'll be getting 1, I think, because it decreases the Cinder Chimes by 3, and since you get 4 Cinder Chimes when you get poor timing, she's basically just getting 1 Cinder Chime. So with the more Auctus Drives that Nita gets, she's basically gonna be having a hard time exiting the standard skill state, which is a good thing. And as for her last Auctus Drive, when Nita's HP changes more than 3% of max HP, she gains the Karmic Drumbeat effect, which will increase the skill damage by 50% for 5 seconds. So even more of a skill damage increase with more Auctus Drives. Overall, I am pretty satisfied with the new 5-star Nita. I am satisfied with her kit. She self-heals, so you don't have to worry about putting a healer on the team. I think she is a pretty good investment for any player, especially if you're a new player. I definitely think she is worth investing. I don't think she's very high on the tier list, but she does stand on her own ground, especially to enemies that are weak to thermal. So if you do need a thermal DPS, Nita is definitely worth investing. She's also a shotgun character, which means that she can break enemy armor pretty easily, although you're not going to be using her shooting that much, except for like enemies that need the need to have their armor breaking, like Joe. So she's pretty good against Joe. Overall, pretty solid character. And that's basically about it. Let me know what you guys think about Nita in the comment section below, and I will see you guys later.
Bye bye now. Come again soon.